Some weeks ago, I was in a group call with a group of friends when one of them mentioned that One Piece is the general hospital of anime. When I say I felt the knife deep in my back and had to check the dates to confirm that it wasn't the 15th of March because
Wow, just wow.
to Brittany! But the conversation that followed, where for the next 10 to 15 minutes, I passionately defended the length of One Piece and declared that I was willing to wait 10 extra years, more if needed, for Oda to bring the story to a satisfying conclusion, had me realize that this could be a video. Especially if, like me, you have people in your life who love anime and have refused to watch One Piece because to them it's too long. Firstly, they have no idea what they are missing out on, which is one of the most incredible stories ever told. But also, they have no idea as to the relevance of that length and why they too should hope that this story runs for another 10 years. But before we get into that, hi, I'm Noria, and this channel chronicles my life as a nerd. If you want to and enjoy this video, then please like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and comment if anything I say resonates. If, like me, you have someone in your life who refuses to watch One Piece because of its length, then maybe consider sharing this video with them too. Maybe they might agree that I make a somewhat compelling argument. And the argument is this: One Piece is a story that is telling two separate stories with two separate trajectories that have interconnected and would be resolved at about the same time. What do I mean by that? One Piece is the story of Monkey D. Luffy, who starts the story at age 17, setting out to sail in order to gain 10 nakama. Now, the fandom is still debating on whether Oda would add more to this number or if it will stay at 10. I say we're getting only 10, so one more person after Jinbei, and that's it. So, Luffy sets out to get his nakama, his crewmates, find the One Piece, and become the king of pirates. And so, for over 2 decades, we followed him on his journey as he's done just that. Acquired a crew that is varied and different, interesting and unique, with their individual strengths and dreams and trauma, and an unshakable loyalty to and love for the soon to be Pirate King as they journey from island to island, battling foes, freeing the people, and throwing one hell of a party after an island has been saved. Pretty straightforward, isn't it? But then One Piece is also a story about the misuse of power and a commentary on how a corrupt system headed by a corrupt government and protected by corrupt law enforcement is one that doesn't work in the interest of the people, but instead protects and glorifies a powerful few who treat those other than them as less than chattel, with no worth and deserving of zero respect. And how, in a system like that, when those who embody the law have failed in living up to their responsibility to the people they are meant to protect, it is pirates, the ones who are the agents of chaos, who unveil the seedy underbelly of it all, and who sometimes rise to the occasion to save the people. The irony in that situation is a constant thread that runs throughout the entire story. So, for the last 1045 chapters of the manga and 1013 episodes of the anime, these two stories have been pretty constant, with Luffy at the heart of it all. Him wanting to be the Pirate King, with a grandfather who is a beloved figure in the Marines, a system that has failed in protecting the people, and his father who is the head of the Revolutionary Army and the most dangerous man alive. Dangerous because the Revolutionary Army seeks to put power in the hands of people and have them revolt against the Celestial Dragons and the world government that has them on the foot. His family structure is set up thus so to show that Luffy's story is always going to be more complex than just becoming the Pirate King. And we've seen this in his adventures since he set sail. Even without the recent reveal in chapter 1044, Luffy has always been the man who brings freedom to both individuals and countries. And that is the very reason why One Piece has been going on for as long as it has, and why I personally hope it runs for another 10 years, and why I think the people that compare its length to much shorter manga and anime do not really understand the story that is being told and its significance. Yes, One Piece is about a character running towards a particular goal, like Naruto, Asta, Edward, Ikuto, etc. But it's also about our main character's actions, bringing visible change and an eventual revolution that would lead to the collapse of the world as they know it, and a rebuilding of a system that puts the common man's interest first. A world where people would all be free, as opposed to being oppressed by the group of people who govern the world. And a change like that, an absolute overhaul of a system that has been cemented and has grown deep roots for the last 800 years since the world government as it is today came into being, with the celestial dragons lording it over everyone, is not one that would change overnight. It's not going to change in a couple of years or even in a decade or two. Because real change, fundamental change, takes time. And this includes both within the story itself and time in real life. And I know change takes time is a cliche as hell line, but in the immortal words of a beloved doctor with a drug addiction, narcissistic tendencies, and an acerbic tongue, yes, I'm talking about Gregory House. Time changes everything. That's what people say. It's not true. Doing things changes things. Not doing things leaves things exactly as they were. I know, irony. Plus, I seem to be contradicting myself. However, I believe both statements can be and are true because that is what we see in One Piece. On his journey to becoming Pirate King, a journey that has been decades in the making, Luffy leaves every island is visited just a little bit better and freer. Sometimes this freedom applies to all the citizens of the island, like we see in Drum Island, Alabasta, Dressrosa, to name a few. And sometimes it's only a couple of people who are really freed in an emotional sense, whether it's Mont Blanc Cricket in Jaya, Tonjit in Long Island, Brook, the Rolling Pirates, and everyone else whose shadows were stolen in Thriller Bark, or the kids and by extension their parents in Punk Hazard. Through all his journeys, Luffy, through his actions, has brought change one island at a time, and it's also taking him time to do so. It's why when people say that One Piece is too repetitive and that there's a particular formula that is always being followed, which is Luffy visits an island, sees its people are suffering in some way, defeats the baddie, frees them, has a party, and moves on, I shake my head at the ignorance of that statement because that is the point. Luffy's actions, repetitive as they are, is all for a reason. Oda is writing them that way. It shows just how collectively the many islands are suffering under the present system of the world government and how things need to change, with Luffy being the agent of change who, in making his own personal journey and experiencing his own growth as a character, is creating several ripple effects that will soon turn into a storm that will destroy the present world as it stands. When, as a reader of the manga or a watcher of the anime, or in my case, both, you look back on everything Luffy has accomplished so far, 20 years is more than enough time to see all of that done. It gives a scale of the immensity of what it is Luffy and the Straw Hats have accomplished so far, and why, as we get further in the story, we see just how irritated the upholders of the present system are with what Luffy's done, is doing, and still stands to do. Another reason why the length is needed is for believability within the story. Luffy starts off at age 17. He has to challenge other pirates, the marines, the admirals, the Shishibukais, the Yonkos, the world government, the Gorosei, all figures way older and with more experience than him. And that is what he is lacking: experience, one that comes with time, both within the story and outside of it. If Luffy was going toe to toe with a Yonko 5 years after the story started, we would have had to suspend all disbelief, or it would have left us believing that the Yonkos are weak as fuck. The same goes for the admirals. But instead, Oda took his time showing us with fights Luffy has had throughout the story that Luffy is growing stronger. He's learning and adapting and perfecting his fighting abilities and style over the many, many fights he's had throughout the story. He's becoming more powerful and it feels earned. It makes it believable. Something that cannot be said for Orikoshi's writing of Deku and Shigaraki's power-ups in Boku no Hero Academia. This is something the fandom's been up in arms about for a while. Because nothing sucks like feeling like your MC hasn't really earned the power they're displaying, or that we haven't seen the full extent of said abilities in action. But with Luffy, we've been there every step of the way, from Gomu Gomu no Pistol to the various gears to Red Hawk to the different Aki and the advanced versions. We were there for it all. We saw them improve. We saw Luffy gain more power, and now as we enter the last long stretch to get to the end of the story, we know what we're dealing with. We can rest easy in the knowledge that these powers that Luffy's gained all story long for the last 2 decades will serve him and the story well. And that takes us to the long stretch, and why I believe we need at least another 10 years for Oda to have the chance to complete the story properly. You see, One Piece is a story that is partly driven by the characters, their motivations and desires, their development and growth. And the one thing that character driven stories need and require for them not to feel rushed or inauthentic to what they have established in the story is time. Time for the writer to explore why certain events affect certain characters, causing them to take certain actions, which then leads to certain consequences, which the characters then react to, and there goes the cycle. Stories are often either plot driven or character driven, and it's often easier for writers to maintain the reins on a plot driven story. That is because the story is often 100% plotted out, with the writer knowing exactly what they want to accomplish and having their characters go from point A to point B to point C, etc. Character driven stories, on the other hand, flow to the beat of what the characters want. And sometimes the characters take detours. Sometimes they decide they want to rest and play in the snow. Sometimes they run, but run backwards because characters are their own people. And when a story is character driven, like One Piece is, that reflects on the time it takes the writer to fully flesh it out. Another popular series that is character driven is A Song of Ice and Fire series by George R. R. Martin. And let me tell you, it's been a long winter indeed. We've been waiting for the Winds of Winter for over a decade, and should we finally get that book in the next couple of years, it's still not the last book in the series. So, yeah, character driven stories can be a bit, but they are also dynamic by their very nature. And authors need time to make sure that the end result for the character is one that makes sense to both the character whose story is being told and the people who are following said character's story. Which is why I believe we should all settle in and plan for another 10 years of One Piece. There are many arcs we need to follow Luffy on after Wano, many chapters that will be devoted to other characters outside of Luffy. I mean, One Piece has over 1,000 named characters. That is what you call a sprawling universe. Characters who also deserve to have their stories told and their time to shine, especially when they are relevant to Luffy. Of course, I'm talking about the Straw Hats and Shanks and his crew and the Shishibukai and the Yonkos and their crew and the Admirals and the Revolutionaries and Sabo and Luffy's relationship or lack thereof with his father and his relationship and conflict therein with his grandfather. And then there's Vivi, Shirahoshi, Enel, should he make a return? The list is endless. So yeah, if you're someone who doesn't follow One Piece and is wondering why on earth I'm asking for another 10 years for a story you believe is bloated, I hope I've been able to shed a little light and give a little bit of an understanding as to why I think this story deserves all the time that Oda and his readers can give. And if you still don't agree, that's perfectly fine. But if you're a One Piece fan, or someone interested in starting One Piece, or someone who just started One Piece, then come, settle in with me, and let's appreciate the masterpiece that is this story, and rest easy in the comfort of knowing that we still have some more time to go, and that Oda will make every bit of this journey worth it.